Good morning, regular finance committee meeting people. Today is January 12th. It is 10 a.m. and this is the CCSD Finance Committee meeting. And welcome to all of you. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We have all 5 of our members here today, so we do have a quorum. And I'd like to give my chair report. On the next agenda item, Jerry, I'm gonna ask you to introduce yourself, and so be prepared. I said, on the next agenda item, I'm gonna ask you to introduce yourself, so just to prepare you.
Fine.
Okay. Okay, so, we had a board meeting, last Thursday. And we did extend the People Self-Help Housing, Cambria Pines Affordable Housing Project intent to serve letter for 3 years. Did we do it for 3 years? I think we did. Yeah. And, we talked about the district strategic plan workshop. We will let the community know when you'll be able to, give us input as far as the strategic plan is concerned, and I'm sure you all have read it and memorized it, so, take a look at it, and if you have any feedback, please let us know. We did receive a report from the Climate Action Plan Ad Hoc Committee, and, we have a very nice outline of a climate action plan, but we decided that we probably would need more of a climate adaptation plan, which will help us when we are applying for grants and things like that. So our general manager is going to look into how much that might cost us to have someone do that for us. And then we also filled a vacant seat on the finance committee with Mr. Jerry Main, and he's here today. And could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Jerry Main. I'm a physician. I've lived here for around 56 years. I work 16-hour days all the time. I joined this committee because I want to get a grasp of how money is spent by the CCSD. I think the average individual living in Cambria can't keep up with all the expenses that they're facing in this day and age. So I want to see if we can improve things.
Thank you and welcome. Yes, sir.
Are questions in order at this point?
Well, you are a committee member of communications, so you go right ahead.
I was just curious on the affordable housing item that you continued for 3 years. Is CCSD committed to providing water service for affordable housing at some limits, at some level?
Yeah,
How
that's
many units are involved?
31.
That project starts
31. Yeah, and we gave them an intent to serve letter in 2014, 17.
It's been 15 years and you do that.
Yeah,
To address the affordable housing, this has been what, 17 years?
Right.
This has been in progress. Has already added approximately $100,000 to the cost of each 500 square feet of housing. It really could be solved easily by just buying little homes that are now available for
Hey,
$20,000 to
Jerry,
$30,000.
this is not the time to do that, okay?
I think someone has to address this.
Well, yes, but not right now. So we have an intent to serve letter for 31 units, 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bedroom units. And we have told them we will give them water for years and years and years. And we're hoping, they said 2027, right?
Breaking ground in late 26 if they get the state tax credits.
Yeah.
And completion in
Right.
27-ish.
Yeah, so that entity does not, it's an exception to our moratorium. Okay, did I answer your question?
Yes.
Okay, does any other committee member have a member communication?
I
Yes,
have a question.
sure.
Saw over the last week, the governor has stated that they're going to be cutting all the homeless funding that they've been providing in order to try and balance the budget. And I just wondered, how impactful would that be? Do we have any grant money or any funding that comes from those types of programs?
No.
Just curious. No, okay. Thank you.
And where would this affordable housing be located?
Schoolhouse Lane.
Do you have a, Oh, no.
But, school, okay,
yes,
got it.
yeah. If you look online for the board packet for the board meeting on Thursday, it'll tell you everything
Okay,
about it. It
great.
has all kinds of really good information. Any other committee member communication? Nope, okay. Do we have any ad hoc committee, subcommittee reports? I don't think we have any ad hoc committees right now, so absolutely we do not. Okay, public comment. Do we have anyone here who is not part of the committee that would like to make public comment? I guess that's you.
No.
No? Do we have anybody online who would like to make public? Oh, okay. All right, great, thank you. Okay, I'm sure you've taken a look at the consent agenda and looked at the special meeting minutes. And are there any edits or corrections to those minutes?
I'll make a motion that those minutes be approved.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those,
Can he second it? Just, he wasn't here.
yeah,
Okay. Just to tie it up.
yeah, all those, in favor of approving?
We're getting to this.
Great, okay. Let's go then to our discussion and consideration of the fiscal year 2025-26 second quarter budget report and staff recommendation. And so, Ms. Fitz, will you please present that for us?
Yeah, so agenda item 4A is the second quarter budget report. So this is reflecting activity through December 31st of 2025. You can see we had, I believe it's 4 budget adjustments that I've outlined, that were approved by the board that I've outlined on the staff report. So it was money for, the safer firefighters, the match to the grant that we are getting, some landscaping for the wastewater. Fuel tank rehabilitation, which is being split between the general fund and utilities. And then the Vets Hall renovation, which also has some grant funding that is, matching. So those are there, and then I can dive into.
Yeah, what I would recommend, because I was trying to think about what would be the most helpful, if you could give highlights and then at the end of each department, if you could just stay kind of where they are.
Okay.
Unless people have questions. And what, as you're going through it, would you like the questions then rather than going back?
Yeah, well, why don't you let me just say what I want to say maybe about each area, and then people can ask questions, but
Shut up, Deborah.
no, I'm saying per department.
I got them this morning too.
Oh, okay.
I was per department, so then I'll take questions, like I'll say what I want. So, I just will say, just in general, the revenue still lags behind a lot by this time of year. Like, so our property taxes don't really start getting a lot. So you're gonna see, our revenue is really low, especially in the general fund, and our expenses are higher. And so that's very normal. We don't really start getting a whole lot of property taxes until, they should start coming in now in bigger chunks. So we do, we have to kind of juggle cash flow at this time of year. So that summary for the general fund is on page 9. So then each department is broken out. And so the first one in the general fund is fire. So far, they've had about $780,000 worth of of income, primarily from taxes. And, you can see under, just to show how it is shown here on page 12, under category 50 salaries, you can see that this is how the budget adjustments are reflected. You can see under that first account, the 5,001 is the Safer Firefighters 25-26 budget adjustment for $70,000. So that's just how that is reflected and how we can keep track of what we're changing during the year in terms of budget. I would say there's nothing out of the ordinary that I need to call out. We do have the fire engine on page 14. You'll see budget for that. That was a budget adjustment done in the first quarter, where the board approved to use reserves to buy a fire engine. So that's $1 million. We have not spent that money yet, and we are getting a grant reimbursement. We will probably have to spend the money and then get reimbursed for it. So that expenditure will come through at some point.
Are you gonna give us that money in the interim?
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, for sure. No problem.
Yeah, so
In bonds.
So that will be happening probably sometime by the end of this month or early February. I'm assuming will be.
Yeah, we're speccing out the engine right now, so we're working with Pierce to spec out the engine. Once we have it all specced out, they'll have a final quote for us. Since we have the money, we'll spend that money and pay for it up front, which gives us $200,000 discount on the overall engine if we were to finance it or pay for it upon delivery, so there's a discount there. And then immediately, Ms. Dodson and myself, we've already completed the application with USDA because there's some logistics and red tape you have to go through even after quote unquote are awarded that reimbursement grant. So once that money is spent, we'll immediately start the reimbursement process. That process will take years because there's a lead time on the engine, which hopefully is going to be decreasing because Pierce, if anybody's familiar with the fire engines and the manufacturing of them, there's anywhere between a 3 to 5 year lead time on those engines. There's a class action lawsuit. We're going in front of Congress to talk about it. Pierce has now hired 800 employees to speed up the manufacturing process. So there's potential that we could receive the engine within a couple of years. Once it's delivered and they inspect it, Mr. Panetta comes out and takes a picture in front of it. Then we'll be reimbursed. So we'll be down those funds for a couple of years.
Yeah. Okay, and so, yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about fire on page 15, just talking a little bit about how this is formatted. 15 is a summary for fire specifically, so you can kind of see the revenues in their big categories as well as expenditures in their big categories. And so this is a nice summary presentation of the detail sheets that you just saw. So any questions about the fire?
Go ahead.
Well, it's not uniquely about fire, but I noticed that all of the different departments have a water charge to them. And being as that it's the CCSD's water, why do we charge our own departments? with
It's
water?
in our internal metering, so we charge each department for the water, so it doesn't. So water gets, I mean, to keep the enterprise funds whole. And so when you're looking at general fund money versus enterprise, we really gotta be as clear as we possibly can to charge expenditures to the appropriate place, because it's different funding and, it's very clear in the GASB rules as well as like law that we've got to keep it separate. So water is providing that service, and so we as the general fund departments need to pay it. Pay their share. Yes.
Yes, I've noticed by reading this that you're having difficulty finding volunteer fire department members. And that you want to get full-time only. Could you address that further?
Yeah, so we haven't had volunteer there for a long time, and as far as volunteer fire department personnel, typically, if we're looking at that, we're looking at office type clerical people. To have volunteer firefighters, I don't even know, that's a thing. really, but not so much in California anymore. And there's a lot of reasons why. A lot of it has to do with risk insurance, that type of thing, and the cost that is associated with that. Because if you have, and we've noticed it with our reserve program, are the reserve firefighters, and they come in and they're actually paid when they're there, but we're having difficulty trying to find them. And they typically need to be close to our station in order to do that, and we just haven't been able to find them. So when you have that type of system, you have a revolving door. You have a lot of expenses that goes into them where you outfit them. Our turnouts are, which is the PPE, the big, jackets and everything that they wear. They're all specifically fit to the person. I would wear a different one than obviously. So those are all specific to those people. And so you can't, that's a huge expense for the department. And so what ends up happening, we spend a ton of money, and it's a constant revolving door because they come here and reserves or volunteers are typically there to put their time in so they can get to that full-time position. And again, that's just what we recognize as being a huge expense. We haven't had a lot of, interest in the volunteer firefighter role. We have had a little bit of interest in the clerical area. So people have wanted to come in and say, can I sit at the desk? Can I answer phone calls for you? Can I do some of that clerical work? And that's been something I've been trying to figure out how to kind of, put into our system a little bit. But again, we run into a lot of training. Typically, we'll have people coming in, and it takes a while for them to get up to speed as far as kind of training them and so they understand kind of the processes. And then what we've noticed in the past is they'll leave, and then we'll have to train somebody else. And it's just that revolving door. That's been the struggles. Having said that, I'm not opposed to any of those, but again, those have been the struggles that we've.
And I'll add on to that. It's a failing model in California. California State Fire Marshal has applied the same rigorous training to a volunteer and or reserve firefighter that they do the full-time firefighter, which means those volunteers that come in, we have to spend money continually training them, and they have to meet that annual training need. Whereas back east, where volunteerism is more of a thing, California is just not sustainable. And like the chief said, we'll get these young men and women that come in, we'll train them, we'll outfit them, and then the first opportunity they get, they're off to their full-time position. And obviously, we don't have a ton of turnover here in our department, so there's not really a ladder to get all of those volunteers hired on. And so what we found, money we were spending on insurance for our reserve program, it didn't make sense. So now we have a fully staffed department that's highly qualified and trained, and and most departments are headed that way.
And it's to piggyback on top of that as well. So we're awarded the SAFER grant, and we have those 3 firefighters coming in and starting. We're very fortunate to have that, but those 3 firefighters are also looking for full-time positions. So they know that their full-time job runs out in 3 years. So they're looking, and I encourage them to look, because I would be a fool not to. That's what their job, and everybody wants the full-time position. So that is a little bit of a risk that we have, that they're going to come in and apply somewhere and get another position within a year or two, and we have to be hired after that. But those are kind of the risks we have to take. Those are kind of like, is the juice worth the squeeze? And that in that area it is, for sure.
Other questions? Okay.
That is fire. So then our next department is facilities and resources. And that would start on page 18. You can see their revenue for the year so far. They have nothing out of the ordinary. David is always watching his budget and making sure that he's doing what he needs to do. You can see on page 20, the budget adjustment for the Vets Home renovations that we discussed in the beginning, $70,000. That's in the capital outlay fund. And so it's kind of all for nothing extraordinary in F North.
So in my experience, when I was looking at budgets, I was looking at the last number, since we're two, quarters in, I went, oh goody, we've only spent 50%. But it's really hard to do that when the money isn't coming in because of property tax.
Yeah, we look like, I mean, we're $217,000 in a deficit
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
I just know that it'll even out. And so it is a
Yeah.
cash flow
Yeah.
game. There's nothing we can really do because
Yeah.
that is the primary funding source for
Yeah.
these general funds, so.
But on page 19, it says 50%. Okay,
So
thank you.
next quarter, we should be right side up.
Hopefully, I'm not gonna say that for sure right now. I'd have to look at like the trending of when property taxes come in to make sure that we will catch up by the third quarter. I think we usually do. I've only been doing this like 2 years, so I haven't looked at that statistic, and so that 50% that you mentioned, this is saying we have spent 50% of the budget
Right,
for the year.
right,
So to me, that means expenditures are right on track.
right.
Yes.
Like, yes,
Yeah.
so we're still in a deficit, but the expenditures are looking pretty good.
So I have one more question. So
Yes.
if, the president gets his way that people who have their houses paid off don't have to pay property taxes anymore, that's gonna be an awful thing.
Property taxes at all,
Yeah,
or just that they will never go up?
no. I think that he said that they wouldn't have to pay property tax.
Yeah, well, we'll deal with that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't imagine that it's
That
gonna
would
pass,
change the
but
whole structure of local and state.
Wouldn't
government
it?
Funding.
yeah,
I would
Yeah.
imagine the states would have to implement their own property tax model.
Yeah.
Because that's just how we
Sure.
get our funding. And maybe that's the intent, is to take it out of the federal system and put it back on the states. I don't know,
Okay.
but I haven't read about that.
Okay.
I stay off the news.
I try.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, all right.
Okay, so on page 23, I'm just gonna look at, this is what used to be the pros department. This is really where we do the capital projects on page 23 for FNR. It's kind of in a separate fund, if you will, or department. And so this is where you'll see any sort of capital expenditure for some of the bigger projects in FNR. So skate park expenditures will be here when we did that's really the only project going on right now. It was where we did the restroom.
Yeah.
As well.
And where are we on that?
The restroom?
The rest
It's done.
of the state park, for the skate park.
Oh, I don't know.
The restroom and the skate park are all one project.
Mhm.
So right now, we're waiting on some engineering calculations from the public restroom company,
Uh-huh.
along with some electrical engineering. The design of the skate park has been completed, and that's been submitted to our civil engineer. So all those pieces are coming together for the final submittal for the skate park. And then once that's done, we'll be heading out to RFP within the next 2 months. And then we'll bring back those bids to the board.
After the never ends.
Hey,
I have a question on that page.
Yes.
So on the grants and miscellaneous receivables or revenue, I suppose?
What page?
On 23. It's a negative number.
Yes. So we accrued that last year and we still have not received the grant funds, but I spoke with our auditors and they said it is appropriate to record that revenue in 24-25 because that's where all the expenditures live.
Okay.
So once we get that grant revenue, that's gonna be a zero.
Okay.
It's just part of it's taking a lot longer than I thought. And it's funny, like Jim and I talk periodically and we've turned everything in and then like most granting stuff, they'll hit you with, oh, we need this, or, and then, oh, the check's it's kind of
In the
like this,
mail.
the check is in the mail, and then, we don't get it, and then they'll say, oh, Jim, we need this, and he's like, okay, I gave that to you like 3 months ago, but here it is again, kind of thing, and it's just way I'm finding that grant reimbursements kind of work. But I did run that by the auditors. They did want me to accrue it and the revenue in 24-25 because then it sits where all the expenditures actually took place. So I'm
Okay.
gonna keep it there unless the auditors tell me to move it.
That's fine. I just,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, I know.
Okay.
It's kind of glaring.
Any other questions? No? Okay.
Okay, so then on page 27, this is the administrative department, and if you don't know, anything that we expense in here does get put out to the other departments. We have a budget, but we do the cost allocation, which the other departments have to pay basically for the administrative department's costs for doing business. So you see some revenue in here that is the allocation of interest income. And
We're still on page 27,
Yeah,
Mhm.
category 42, franchise fees. Would you discuss that for a moment?
Franchise fees is the money that we receive from Mission Country Waste Disposal. So in the contract that we have with them, we get franchise fees. So that's where that money goes.
Is that a lump sum or?
They pay us periodically. It's not a lump sum. And it depends on, I think it's based upon how much they're charging. So when their rates go up, that franchise fees goes up. And so they usually send us money.
And then category 44, property taxes,
Mhm.
$15,367. Could you explain what that is?
The SB 1090 property tax, I would have to go research exactly to give you, like, I don't have the language off the top of my head.
I thought
Exactly.
Public entities did not have to pay property.
We don't pay, that's revenue, so we get property tax. So this is a
Oh,
portion of
okay,
property
that's
tax
revenue.
that stays in the admin department. Most of the property tax, you'll see a big credit. We deposit it into this administrative department and then quarterly I distribute it to fire and F&R. And so you'll see a negative that leaves the fiscal activity 0 in administration. There is a portion, which is this SB 1090, which actually does go to the administrative department. And I'd have to look historically. It's just the way it's always been deposited in there and I don't quite know why. So yeah, this is revenue. It's not expenditures. We don't pay property taxes.
so the two big negative numbers there are both reallocation.
Reallocation, yes. The interest income, I deposit it into administration and then quarterly I do an analysis and I separated that portion out to, based upon reserve balances, I distribute out to the different departments. And so this 45,000 would be representative of the reserve balances for general fund, which would include fire and F&R. So I just keep it in admin. So, and that helps fund capital projects for the fire department and F&R. So you can see our different expenditures and, Deborah pointed out the metric for on page 29.
I had some
We're at
questions.
42%.
I have some questions on page 28.
Mhm,
Okay, M&R comp services,
mhm,
$129,000. Is that for IT?
Yeah.
And computers?
mhm,
So we're paying $10,000 a month?
yeah, yeah. We use, it's called CIO services that do all of our computer managing of all of our networks. They purchase stuff for us, they manage upgrades of things. The alternative would be for us to hire staff, internal staff to do it. We don't have staff that manage the network.
Have we looked into other companies providing this service?
I
Like
cannot,
865?
since I have been here, we have never done an RFP for that service. No. That would be the mechanism for us to do that, is we would go out with an RFP
Yeah,
and get competitive quotes.
seems really high.
Yeah, they do a lot of work for us. And if we had to hire, let's say, an IT professional, we would be paying at least that amount
Mhm.
to, you know, I mean, with
We would
the
be
going,
paying- We'd be paying more plus.
benefits and
benefits,
everything
pension,
else.
things like that.
So, you know, look at it that way, but that's not to say, I mean, we, you know, for service contracts, I think it's pretty standard to go out, I mean, we can go out for bid and.
When does their contract expire?
Sure.
In June. In June.
Mhm.
Okay, so if this.
Yeah, they're a
committee-
local company, so I know that. So I think there's some benefit to having people who are local. They come out and
Mhm.
actually physically work on our networks and set up stations and everything else. I don't know how many local companies there are that provide that service. We would have to go look. I'm sure there's probably some like national companies that might bid on that or anything. But I mean, you know, we could go out to RFP and see if there's cheaper.
And again, we budget 130,000, but if you look, we've only spent 30% of that. So we budget a larger amount because there's on-call services, there's a network crash, there's things like that. So they have 24/7.
Security,
What's that?
do they do security?
They do all of our firewall security and so,
They only charge $1,000 for that.
For what?
Security.
Yeah, and also in that amount is like replacement of computers and
Right.
stuff. So and we had a bunch of computer replacement this year, so
I
yeah.
thought it was last fiscal year.
No.
You had a
Well, we're
lot.
on a rotating cycle, so
Mhm.
I'm sure we had some last fiscal year, but the Windows was expiring, the version of Windows that we use, so we had to get a lot of new computers. So I mean, computer replacement is kind of like we keep it on a rotating
Mhm.
cycle, so
Right.
I'm sure we had some last year and this year. But yeah, I mean, that's something we could look into. We could definitely.
Well, if this,
Competitive bidding process.
in April, let's put it on, the agenda for April. For discussion. And then this committee could recommend to the board that we go out for all.
You might want to do March.
Well,
I just think it's gonna, like, to go out for a competitive bid, it might be, and
Right.
if they're up in June.
No, we don't-
You would need.
but
to
we
go
don't
March.
have a meeting in March, so we
Oh.
would have to,
That would be a tight timeline, because then it would wait for May to go before the board,
Oh.
and then,
yeah.
I'm just.
Well, I'm,
We're into the next cycle of the contract.
Yeah, and then it would need to go before the board
Yeah.
for them to approve, like.
An
who
RFP.
bid- Yeah, so
okay,
that would be hard to get done by June,
okay.
is my thought. I don't know, Matt, what do you?
Well, let me think about it.
yeah, I mean, the timeline's right, you know,
I mean, it would be a tight
he,
timeline.
he would know a bit more, but there would be significant change overhaul district wide on how we do things
Yeah.
IT wise. So
Well-
there's a larger impact than just going to RFP.
Well, but-
Have you been in discussions with CIO Solutions regarding their contract expiring in June? And I'm happy with CIO and I would hate to see them, so.
All I'm saying is, we have a question, so we should, and it would be really good if you would ask maybe Templeton and people like that, who they use.
Sure.
And may I ask, Cayucas, Harmony, other towns, San Simeon, how did they handle this problem?
Well, that's what they're gonna ask.
Okay,
They're gonna,
maybe we could make a joint contract.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Well-
mean, that is something people do. I mean,
let's look into it.
I don't think we have a system to have joint contracts with them, but that's not to say it can't happen.
Then I have a question about, if we're done with this topic,
Yeah,
Yeah, you go right ahead.
question about, council and legal,
Oh.
162 and
Mhm.
50. And I know there was a recent lawsuit, and so we have,
Yeah.
but those numbers should decrease now, right? Or some of the numbers should decrease.
I can't say that for sure because at this, I don't know if I added anything additional for the lawsuit to this year's budget.
Well, let me just,
I didn't.
let me just answer that.
Okay.
Because we saw the monthly expense report at the board meeting, right? And we did not go over our, what's the thing when you give retainer? We did not go over our retainer this month. So the answer to your question is yes.
Because what's the difference between council and legal?
So we have district council, which represents the district itself.
Right,
And then we have Lieber, Cassidy and Whitmore, which is our human resources attorneys. And they handle personnel matters, respond claims, interactive processes.
so the
And I would
legal
say, so
is
the,
HR,
the council is the retainer amount only.
Okay.
Yeah. So we pay, no matter what we use, we
Right.
pay the retainer to the wood, and that is,
Mr. Cornell.
Mr. Carmel and Nakasha, sorry. And so, yes, the legal is, representative of if we go over that retainer amount, we will pick up some charges there, which does happen. And then the HR, is in there too.
So good question.
and if we are under the retainer, does it carry over to the next month, or is
Normally
it just
not.
what it is?
Probably not, no.
And what I would recommend is that, no, just let me say that Mr. Carmel does things without charging us for
Okay.
that. I mean, he's really good about,
Okay.
yeah. Because we've had this discussion before. Okay,
Okay. So the admin, any other questions about the admin department?
On page 29, outside services, meeting expense, travel expense, training. Should those come down slightly now that the lawsuit is over?
This has nothing to do with the
Okay,
lawsuit.
those are totally different.
Yes, that's for training for staff and conferences that Matthew might attend, or this year we had staff go to our software that we use, our accounting software, went and did training with them, which is a great professional development that we provide for our staff members and stuff. And then Matthew attends a lot of conferences and then myself, I don't know, I should probably go to more.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, that has nothing to do with the lawsuit.
Alrighty, thank you.
and you know that.
And
the
the directors sometimes go to trainings and we would put that in there as well.
And so you know that the lawsuit, the fees that were paid were from our insurance.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay. So moving on to page 33, which is, we're starting into our enterprise fund. Which is funded primarily from, the wastewater rates, as well as the availability charges, which you do see on your property taxes are in here. And then, a little bit, but that's where this is funded from. And on page 33 is the summary of all of it. So you can see water, wastewater, WRF, and the WRF capital departments, or funds. And so this is just a quick snapshot, and it's nice to see that.
So explain the negative 270%.
Again, the revenues are not, the expenditures are exceeding the revenue at this point, but we bill every 2 months and we are on track to meet our revenue targets. Yeah. So, and as we go through the departments, I can have more, so on page 36, this is our water department. And so you can see so far they've collected about $1.3 million in fees. And there are some of those other miscellaneous fees that they collect, for various things, their interest income. And then on category 44 is that availability, charges from the property taxes. And there's some grant revenue that we're expecting for the Stewart Street tanks. That's down there at the bottom, category 45, which is budgeted for, but we have not received that grant funding yet. We have submitted for it. So, okay, so I just got Templeton uses CIO solutions for IT. Shot an email.
And Carmel and Nakasha also uses.
Yeah, Templeton uses current. So we'll reach out to Los Osos and
my personal experience with them has been excellent. It's,
well, you have to remember too, we're in a very small community.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of resources. So I know people are like, oh, use this, but like different vendors,
Yeah.
but oftentimes like we kind of are stuck with who we can use.
and not everybody will respond to it.
And that's construction too.
Yeah.
Is a big one where we struggle to get people to come out to Cambria. Okay. So. This is water, all of their different, expenditures, so their capital, if you look on page 40, they've spent about $850,000 on their capital projects. Oftentimes, a lot of those capital projects are reserve funded, so that's gonna contribute to us going into a negative.
Gotcha.
It's the way that we show it here at the district, and I would prefer it to be in a different fund because it kind of misleads you to, because it's like a planned reserve expenditure, but it makes it look like we're in a deficit when in actuality, water is in a $928,000 deficit, but $850,000 of it is for capital expenditures, which are funded from reserves. So, anyways, it can be a little misleading. So far, they're doing great on their expenditures and everything's going to plan. And if you have questions about water,
Questions?
anyone?
Nope.
No? Okay. So then the next is our WRF department. We have two. 39 is where we record the operations, and this is where I was kind of talking about for WRF. Don't know why this was set up this way, but the capital expenditures are in a different department. So I can separate them and it kind of gives a better, clearer picture. So on page 44, you see that the revenue so far about $500,000. And then all of the expenditures. And this is showing they're about a $48,000 deficit on page 45 so far this year, which they will definitely catch up. Yeah, so that's the operations and everything is just, kind of going along as it's normal. Any questions about the WRF operations? On page 48, this is a separate fund, so it's capital. It got a little bit of interest income because they do have its own reserves. And you can see that there's been about $35,000 spent so far in their capital projects. So this is where I separate out the capital expenditures. And so it kind of just presents a better picture for the operating funds, right? It's like true just operations, not capital expenditures that we are planning on spending from reserves. So that would be a negative. Yes.
I have a really basic question. Your column, original total budget, current total budget.
Mhm.
Sometimes there's like a massive jump.
So the original total budget, well, so through the budgeting process, we go to the preliminary budget first. And that's where we would budget for any new projects that were approved through R&I. So in this one, that would be, so if you look on page 48, the new projects that were approved under R&I to total 270,000 are that analytics overhaul, the chemical building container, the shade cover, and the sound enclosures. Okay, so then we go and get the final budget approved, and what the final budget includes is what we call reserve. Sorry, my brain is old. Encumbrances, thank you. And so those are projects that were started in prior years that have not completed. And so the board specifically during the final budget gets brought to them, they're approving reserve for encumbrances. So they're saying these projects are still going on and we're going to move that funding, whatever funding is left from prior years, we're going to move it forward so we can complete those projects in this current fiscal year. Unfortunately, we can't get all our projects done in one shot, oftentimes in 1 year. So on that same page 48, you will see the CDP permit modeling design, trailer fill station update, chemical, all of those were projects that were improved in prior years and were not able to complete. And so the board moved them forward. And that's why it jumped to 760,000.
But don't you know that when you're doing your original budget?
Yeah, I do, but this is just the process. The board has to approve them separately. So when the preliminary budget, and I think it's nice to see them separate because we know what the board has approved in the new year and then what is moving forward. So it keeps them separate. It's the way that the system was set up before I got here and that the board approves them. And yes, I do know pretty much, I mean, the timing is pretty tight. I don't know if all like current year expenditures are completely done by the time I'm doing the preliminary budget, so it would be tight, but I have a really good idea of what's gonna need to be moved forward. It's just by the time the final budget goes, everything is done, and this is the final number, and we just approve them separately to move forward. Yeah. Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So then we move to the wastewater fund. So on page 52, you can see their revenue. We do have the loan proceeds in here. This is for the bond. So as we spend, we have our bond money sits with a fiduciary, like a trust, it's with the Bank of New York. And so I pull in money from the Bank of New York. That's what that 2.13 million is so as we pay PG&E, I do it, simultaneously as I'm paying them, I pull money from the Bank of New York to cover the expenditures. So we pull those in. And then the auditors take them out to comply with accounting principles, but this helps the picture throughout the year to show that we are getting this bond funds from it to cover those expenditures. And on page 55, it starts the capital outlay expenditures for wastewater, and I'm just gonna highlight this because it operates a little bit differently than the other ones because we have the SST projects that we're doing, which are the bond funded ones. So at the top of the page, you'll see like our normal capital expenditures. We have some, trucks that we were purchasing this year, replacing generators, and then you can see under the budget adjustments, those are all, like I explained previously, projects from prior years and we'll move forward. Then you will see, and you won't see this in the other funds, is a separation of these 617 accounts. And they all start with wastewater ECM1, ECM2, ECM3. This is the SST projects.
What does SSD stand for?
Sustainable Solutions Turnkey.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the wastewater improvements.
Yes. And so we got $12.1 million from a bond funding to do those projects. And so we isolate those to be able to report on them and be hopefully transparent and accurate with our reporting. So you will see all of those listed. And every year I'm putting the budget that comes through on that reserve for encumbrance roll forward. So that's representative of how much money we have left in each ECM.
Is that gonna be done this year?
Oh, yeah. So we're hoping first quarter. We should be finished with the SST project. The
Next year.
rain delayed us a little bit.
Yeah.
So a lot of construction stopped during the recent storms. Both those two street tanks and SST. That pushed us back a couple of weeks, but we should be complete here.
So first quarter, meaning in the next 2 months,
Mhm.
3 months? And
Wait,
did
first
we
quarter
have
of the
enough?
calendar year?
Third quarter. He said third quarter.
Oh, I thought he said first.
First quarter
Yeah.
of this calendar.
Oh,
Calendar
yeah.
year.
It's gonna be done in the next.
I
2 months.
operate fiscal year, so I just gotta make sure that me and him are speaking the same language.
And do we have enough remaining money to complete the project?
Yeah. I mean, I have not been told otherwise. No, right? Yeah. They're all,
It was really needed.
so yeah, so that's wastewater. Any questions on wastewater? Okay, so then on page 60, this is just a more detailed, comprehensive picture of all the capital projects. You can see them in what we just went through, but most of them are just a lump sum, right? Except for the SST project. So this is where if it has under ranking, I'm just explaining this because some of
Yes.
you haven't seen this before. There is a legend in the beginning oh no, didn't make it on this one,
Yeah,
sorry.
it's
but
on like some other
Random
page, yeah.
Okay, I'll fix that for the board presentation, but, let's see it. So the ranking, if it's a B, that means it's budgeted for this year. Okay, all the other rankings are not projects that have been budgeted. Those are either ones that we've identified we need to try and find funding for, or things that just need to be done. So you're looking at anything with a B is what has been budgeted. So on page 60 for facilities and resources, we have the skate park and the Vets Hall sound system, refinish the flooring and re-roofing for the Vets Hall are things that have actually been budgeted so far. And then this is a comprehensive view of what the initial budget was, what the current year budget is, how much we've spent, and then all the way to the right, you'll see activity to date, and that shows you know, how much we've spent to date. On page 61, you'll see
Can we,
that.
can we hold
fire
on 60
engine?
for a
Yeah.
second?
Uh-huh.
Quick question, the admin office relocation? Isn't that what we did?
That was not, was a separate item that has been on there for a while before, so it will probably come off this cycle, because we did move. I think that this was put on there years ago with people, like they had tossed around buying a building, they had tossed around, you know, stuff like that. So that will probably come off this cycle.
It may or it may stay on just for a long range outlook. So we discussed with the board when we did the office relocation and moved to our new location about I think we're in a 10-year lease. And so there's discussions about, you know, can we get out of the lease? Can we purchase a building? This also ties into the relocation of the facilities and resources building, because there's a potential for us to move that building a little bit deeper into the ranch out of the flood zone. And if we do that, we add a section maybe for administration and get out of our lease. So we would have F&R and admin all in one place out of the ranch.
Sure.
Or the east ranch, that is.
Yeah.
It's just forecasting.
Okay. I just didn't know if it just got left behind after the move. But
Yeah, it's been on there for a little bit. And it was a bigger push before we moved to the most recent location. But it could stay, it could go,
Okay.
you know.
Mhm.
I
We're
didn't
not
know.
committed to anything that is 2, 3. We're not committed to anything, but yes.
I just didn't know if we were planning another move so
No.
soon.
It
No.
could be a wish list. This,
Yeah.
Yes,
call us the wish list.
So maybe we could not call it a 2.
Yes, we could
Might
put
be
it
a
for 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks.
Mhm. Okay.
And then I have a question on page 62,
Okay.
if nobody else has a question.
Nothing on them.
Okay, meter install,
Mhm.
aren't those done?
They are done. I kept them on here because we have $12,000 left in budget, and they are doing just a little stuff. So to be transparent and be on there, not just call it done. Like you can see, we spent $73 this year. So I just, so far, we've spent $73 on that. Now it may, you know, when I'd like to err on the side of caution and just leave it on there as we're tying up loose ends, but yes, that project is essentially done. And what's nice is activity to date, you can see what the total budget was initially, 526,500, and we spent 513,000. So,
Can we go back to 61?
sure.
And it has to do with, it's way down to number 3. It's the fire training building.
Mhm.
Should we burn your house down?
You know,
For training.
if that works.
Yeah.
But I know that not in my Yellow Canyon life, but in my Vermont Yankee life, that my department was also, we were the firefighters, the immediate response guys. And we had to go off campus to somewhere in upstate New York for firefighter training. And I'm assuming that that's the concrete buildings, and that's what all that is. Has there been any discussion to talk with the other communities that have fire departments to take and coordinate so that we could? I don't think there's one in the county, is there? Do you happen to know?
Well, there's several departments that have their own training facilities. One, San Luis City has a training building behind their Station 1. I think Paso Robles has one. Difficulty for us is we're so far out here that to get the crews to train on duty is difficult because you take them out of the system and cover engines and things like that. So again, much like the relocation of the admin offices, this is a wish list thinking down the line in the future.
Yeah, I just didn't know if there's an opportunity to take and work with somebody else to make a joint facility, like in Cayucas or something. But then I know they
We'd have to work with CAL FIRE and that's the state fire department.
Right.
And even they don't have their own training center, and maybe at the airport, they have some areas where they can train. But yeah, that would be coordinating with the state and CAL FIRE.
I would say this is very wish listy.
Very interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think we have any immediate plans to do.
So these things are different from the items that thank our firefighters event paid for.
Yeah,
Correct.
Well,
I mean,
some of it. So
Wasn't there a Kitchery model, wasn't that?
Yeah.
part of it?
yes,
that was one of them.
we have these things on here and have had them on here. But the fundraiser is gonna help essentially take these off.
Take them, yeah, just not yet. Okay, all right, thanks.
Is the fence done?
I mean, it's installed for the most part, but the honestly, it might be because they were installing the locks over the weekend.
Oh,
That was the last piece of it.
okay, so. Page 62. Like we looked at the meter install, so you can see all of the other projects. So I update this quarterly, with the actual activity that has been happening. And again, everything with a B is what has been budgeted this year. And 63, still like we separate this between like kind of 4 departments based upon what they're doing. There's a separation. So water goes all the way to page 65. And then on 66, the WRF projects start. 67, and then 68, and then 69 is the wastewater.
the SST.
The SST is on that first page. So again, this is just another detailed breakdown. We have another one that I provide at the end of this report. So I do
Yes.
a lot of reporting on the SST
Because
projects.
they get
Yeah,
scared that we
yeah.
have this,
And it's-
that we have this bond thing and how are we spending it in?
On page 69.
Just a minute, Steve, you have your hand up first.
Do we have anything in here about, is there anything in the capital expenditures about the possible repurposing of the pond at the sustainable water plant?
No, so ultimately, we have thought about the repurposing of it for upstream storage, for fire protection and things of that nature, but ultimately the coastal commission wants that restored to its ESHA. What we considered it as being ESHA.
Environmentally,
Sensitive.
Habitat
yeah.
area. Yeah,
So
so
that's not gonna happen.
No.
no, yeah, we're gonna be going before the coastal commission here in the next 9 months, probably when it gets appealed, the project. And that'll be one of the token offerings that we give the coastal commission, is restoring that land.
So would you just pull up the tarp and fill it up with dirt?
Remains to be seen. We'll definitely pull up the tarp and return it to dirt, and then they'll tell us what they want. They want us to create a wetland, habitat for frogs, plant willows. It's really gonna depend on what the coastal commission tells us they want.
When do they come up for election?
We'll find out. They're appointed actually by the
No, I know.
Yeah, just clarification of 2 things on page 69, number 5. What pumping improvements were made? The $687,000.
I am not the person to be asking about the actual detail of the ECMs, and Jim isn't, our utility manager isn't here. Cause he doesn't attend the finance meetings. I mean, R and I might know more. I don't know exactly what is in that pumping improvements project.
And then, influent lift station modifications that we
And what
have
number is that?
budgeted.
Where is that?
What number?
Where is it?
fourth from the bottom,
On what page?
69.
Okay,
Okay, that is not budgeted.
no, so nothing.
So that's a number 2. So that doesn't have a B by it on the ranking column, so that is not budgeted for.
It's on the wish list.
On the wish list.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, the utility manager would be the one to explain like what is in each of these ECMs, and he doesn't attend the finance committee meetings, so that would be R and I. Or you could talk to him at a board meeting during his utility manager's report.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, wastewater just continues. Any questions?
And then on page 73,
73 is a debt listing, so these are all the debts that we currently have. And including the interest rate, the original debt, principal amounts, interest amounts that we pay, and the balance as of certain date.
what is it? Was it 9:30?
Yeah, because we didn't pay anything between September and December, so it's kind of hard. A lot of these we just pay like twice a year, so they don't change. It's kind of a static report. I should change that date, but finance is where I find my little errors. A lot of this is very manual. This report is completely manual, so I'm circling stuff like, okay, correct that,
Yeah.
correct that. I do the best I can, and then on 74, you will see another representation of the SST project, this is not the most current one, so. Anyways, look, I thought I had put that one out there. There is some interest we're earning, and I have that reflected on here. It's not on here. So we're gonna start seeing some earned interest for this.
How much was it about?
Let me find it, because I have it. It happened.
So it's at New York Mellon?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
at New York Mellon. We do not have access to it. We cannot, and all of that earned interest will go to either complete the project if there's any overruns, or it would go to a debt service payment for the Bank of New York Mellon. It is not money for us just to use, but it is really nice to have. And one quick, so any additional questions on wastewater?
74, can you clarify what a status system upgrade is?
The SCADA system I know is the computer system that we use to monitor all the equipment for the water pumps.
Puts out alarms.
It puts out alarms.
It's
if
a
somebody-
monitoring system for all of our lift stations, Stewart Street tanks, so it's a monitoring system that will alert our water and wastewater folks if there's any type of a failure, emergency, or generators kicked on.
So we won't have to boil water.
Yeah. So, which has helped us in numerous occasions. So it looks like they're upgrading that system.
Oh, Jim Green is on,
Oh,
but the question was, it hasn't been budgeted, so we haven't done anything.
well, but he was asking about some of these ECMs,
Oh,
if you wanted Jim to
okay.
answer those.
Jim, do you want to answer a couple things?
Yeah, hi, you guys there?
Yeah,
Great,
So
yeah.
please-
We want to revisit some energy conservation modules.
yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Did you, this is the utility manager, if you want to ask him about some of those ECMs that you were asking about?
Fine.
Okay,
Oh.
thank you, Jim. Thank you, Mr. Green.
absolutely.
Okay,
Okay, so that is it.
okay. So do we have any public comment? No? Do we have any public comment online? No? Okay. Okay. Let's go to agenda item 4B. And I had this question earlier, so just let me clarify, what the hell was this on the agenda? And
Oh, can I interrupt you really quick?
Oh, yes.
We have earned 139,000
in,
for the loan proceeds.
oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And just to clarify, can that money be used to pay back the loan?
It will go towards a debt service payment, yes. If we end and we have money left over, it would go towards a debt service payment, yes.
Thank you.
So, I had this on I have this on the agenda so that we can have kind of a more open discussion, which is one of the reasons I cut in and told you to wait. Because some of the questions that we have as a committee, really will fall under this, agenda item. So, Mr. McElhaney, will you go ahead and present this agenda item?
Sure, absolutely. First, like the genesis of this topic that when I talked to Mrs. Scott.
Not president.
About.
Yeah.
Is that there were some questions about our general fund revenue and how it's allocated to different departments and why we can't have all the things that we want with Parks, Rec and open space. Is that kind of the gist of what I heard?
That was it, and what else could we do to make more money, or how can we save money? But this just will give you a background to be able to ask those questions and possibly get answers.
Well, we have no dedicated funding from the county for parks and space that they rely on.
No,
No.
we are unincorporated, so there's no funding from anywhere.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay, so
Show me, sure.
yeah. Great. So anyway, so I put this together to kind of give an overall presentation on our revenue structure from a general fund standpoint. So we have our general fund revenues and then we have our enterprise revenues, and those two funding streams don't cross. Right, so there's a lot of comments sometimes publicly about why can't we build a skate park or create the community park when we spend all this money on the WRF or water meters or EV trucks. And bottom line is it's illegal, right? The ratepayers pay rates for into the enterprise fund to support water and wastewater, whereas the general fund is funded by property taxes, which are primarily meant for fire protection. So next slide. So our total combined revenue for the entire district is 14.6 million.
Per year?
Yes. The general fund has about 4.2 million and the enterprise 10.46. And again, like I said, these revenues, they're not interchangeable. Now, the enterprise fund can borrow from the general fund. That's the one caveat to these funds is the enterprise fund can borrow from the general fund if needed, if we got into real trouble. And then they pay it back with interest. So we pay ourselves back in interest back to the general fund.
Can the general fund take money or borrow money from enterprise?
No, illegal.
Do we have a current deficit now? Has there been money loaned?
In the past, yeah, we
But
just,
not, but now, there's not a balance now.
no.
Okay.
So our general fund revenues is right there. Property taxes, about 3.19 million. We have our fire assessment. That was a benefits assessment that was done in 2003 that is restricted to the fire department. We do see about $178,000 a year in franchise fees. That question came up. That is money that is given to us from Mission Country Disposal as a part of our agreement. It is a sensitive subject because there is cases at the Supreme Court level where they are battling it out on the legality of those funds. Those funds are typically distributed to different communities that contract with Mission Country Disposal, those franchise fees, and it's done in other areas of the state. And those monies are supposed to be reinvested into the community for any damages or impact that it might have on the community from those trucks rolling up and down, specifically roads. What's unique about our situation is that we don't maintain roads. So we use these franchise fees typically, and Ms. Fritz will talk about it. Sometimes we spend them, sometimes they're going through the reserves. And so again, this is at the Supreme Court level on whether or not these will continue. It's a big revenue source, not just for us, but several cities, communities, all over the state. And if there is some action taken by the Supreme Court, there might be some there might be some adjustments made, for those that are grandfathered in. So we don't know if we're gonna lose these fees, but right now we typically put them in reserves. And then our other revenues from interest. As Ms. Fritz stated, we have investment partners that invest a lot of our reserve monies, and then we take those investments and we bring them back in and typically put them in reserves. Next slide. So our property tax allocation. So from the general fund perspective, this is how we allocate those property taxes that come in. The fire department currently sits at 72%, and then facilities and resources 27%. Historically, we have seen varying degrees of property tax allocations. In 2001, 2002, the fire department saw about 80% of the property tax revenues. 2003, we saw a benefits assessment, and then between 2003 to current, we've seen fire department allocation in terms of property taxes dip from the 80s to the 70s to the 60s to the 50s, then back up to the 60s to the 70s. And so we're working right now to start focusing on fire protection, health and safety, and we'll start to see a little bit of shift in these property taxes over the next few years, trying to push up the allocation, which would decrease the allocation of facilities and resources.
Are there any agencies that take and drive those percentages? Like, does anybody at the state level or federal level say that you have to spend?
No, it's a policy decision at board level.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do those fire department tax allocations include land clearance for fire protection?
Land clearance?
Like, you know,
Maintenance.
cutting grass and weed abatement and all that.
I mean, our property taxes for the fire department, they don't tell us how we have to spend it. We
No,
spend
his question is, does that pay for some of the weed abatement?
on our property.
Yeah,
No, typically, facilities and maintenance handles district properties.
Mm.
So that one weed abatement piece is typically handled by facilities and resources, and we do that through labor.
Mm.
So we don't really contract out. There is some contracting out from the facilities and resources department that deals with fire breaks, weed abatement, clearance on the ranch, things of that nature, but it doesn't come out of the fire department budget.
And how does the 72% compare to other communities?
It's close. I looked at, Templeton, and they're right around 72%. The county typically dedicates about 80% of their general fund revenues to public safety, but they also have a law enforcement component. But it ranges anywhere between 72, 73 to 80%.
And the benefit of going higher, as you said, you're going to try and adjust it up.
Mhm.
What is that benefit?
The benefit?
Yeah,
Public safety.
because you're obviously going to take it out of facilities and resources.
Yeah, there's no other place. And so, you know, we're working on several things, from an ad hoc level in terms of Fiscalini Ranch, management plan, and working with friends of the Fiscalini Ranch to see if we can shift some of the burden of ranch maintenance, to that 501(c)(3), which would free up money to go towards public safety. So, philosophically,
Doesn't seem like a huge amount of savings
which
for Fiscalini. Taking money away from Fiscalini and putting it into the fire department doesn't seem like it's, what are we currently giving them, 35,000 a year? Fiscalini,
you're talking about for ranch maintenance?
Yeah.
We're all the way down to about 16,000.
16,000, so cutting that off doesn't seem like it's really gonna show a huge benefit to the fire department.
well, what you're not taking into consideration is its personnel.
Personnel, staff.
Yeah,
So you would take the personnel staffing that you have dedicated.
So what we'll look at moving forward is scaling. So let's go back in history. So our facilities and maintenance, or facilities and resources department used to be small. It was a manager and one maintenance technician. When we took on the ranch in 2000, we took on the ranch with no funding mechanism, and that started to grow the facilities and resources department. For 10+ years, we went to 2 maintenance technicians, and we were contracting hundreds of thousands of dollars for maintenance. And so it's not just the small amount we put towards the facility branch.
Cause
It's-
that 16,000 is
Mhm.
only for contracting.
Okay,
Okay.
and then you hired an additional,
Then we hired a third. So when we take a look at the facilities and resources budget, 2003, 2004, $300,000. It's $880,000 now because 530-ish of it is salaries benefits. Because we've had to grow that in order to support the maintenance of the range.
and that 800,000+ is only going towards the fiscally preserved.
800,000 is the facilities and resources budget. 500 of that is salaries and benefits. And then you take into the account that the reason we have those maintenance technicians is mostly for support of the branch. So when we take in that fully burdened amount of 3 personnel, it takes a large hit on the budget. So going back to your question, as we move forward, some of our plans are through attrition, because we see a lot of attrition through the facilities and resource department, specifically for maintenance technicians. There's a bit of a glass ceiling there. The pay isn't the highest, and they're looking to advance their careers. And so we see a lot of movement in that area. When we start to see that movement, we'll start to eliminate positions. So no one's gonna get laid off. We're not terminating anybody, anything like that. But if we lose a maintenance technician, we're gonna start to not fill that position and then move some of those monies that we budgeted to that back over to the fire department, and kind of shift the allocation back to where it should be.
I recall at one of the prior meetings that we had this discussion about how much time actually gets allocated out there onto the ranch lands. And I think Mr. Green's, one of his lead guys was sitting in at the meeting, and I don't remember his name, but they were gonna do some kind of tracking so that we could get a real number as to what the hard costs are. How many hours are allocated to doing that?
Yeah, they're doing that.
They're doing that now.
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
we're
he's
start tracking that now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because without that, we're flying blind.
Right.
And you're saying that we can't have, private organizations volunteer their time, like the Lions Club, so on, to take care of the ranch because of liability problem.
No,
No.
they can.
Through FFRP.
The Friends of the Fiscally Ranch are that volunteer mechanism. They do some of the work. But there's larger amounts of work. So trees down, trail maintenance, weed abatement, clearing,
Building
Building
bridges.
bridges.
building bridges. That takes specialized labor. Which is why we've had 3 maintenance technicians.
When we had all the folks here from Fiscality Ranch group about the allocation, was a lot of that argument about the plan or the to reduce the F and R budget. It wasn't over the 16,000.
Yeah, it was the 16,000.
Well, it's that, because we used to budget 50,000.
Yeah.
And contract out more money on top of that. And we used to budget not only 50 for the ranch, but we budget another $40,000 for homeless camp cleanups. That was all contracting. And that department was in a deficit of anywhere between 60, 70, 80, $100,000 a year. So we corrected that piece of it. But it's still an unfunded department.
It's pretty big. It's a big number. I guess I wasn't grasping the number. We had to be.
Yeah. And we're working with Friends of Fiscalini Ranch. I mean, they have in their coffers, so to speak, almost $7 million. $7 million that they put towards stewardship of the ranch. And so we're working with them to see if they can help offset some of our funding issues.
Yeah, recognizing that some of that money is tied up, it's the trust that it's providing. It's not like it's a balance in their checkbook. It's a balance in their savings account that they can, some
It's
of
in
it
there.
is not usable.
I believe that's incorrect. Yeah, we
Really, that's what I keep being told.
Yeah, we've been told that too, but we did some research. We did some research and pulled all their 1099s. And none of it is endowment restricted.
Oh,
So it is, they're able to liquidate it if they would like.
Yeah. Well, and so what we're doing, because I'm on the ad hoc, Karen, Dean and I are the ad hoc, and we've been meeting with them on a regular basis. In fact, we have in a week and a half or so, we have another meeting. We are redoing the ranch management plan.
Finishing it, because it was never complete.
Well, we are updating it.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and in conjunction with who's the guy that we are working with? LAFCO, is it?
Oh.
Yeah,
Mr. Rob Fitzroy,
yeah, and no, the other guy. That,
Coastal Conservancy.
yeah,
Tim Duff.
Tim Duff, tell them about that.
The Coastal Conservancy gave us a grant back in, again, 2000. That was for the bluff trails.
Yeah.
The bluff trails, and so that agreement is coming to an end. And so we're not tied into a contract with them about how much maintenance we have to do on those trails and things like that. We'll have completed our obligation.
Yeah.
But the Coastal Conservancy still kind of has a say in the ranch in terms of its preservation, keep it as open space. We can't do anything that would violate the conservation easement, things of that nature.
Sure. And are they offering additional grant funds?
There are additional grant funds. They just don't have grant funds that go towards maintenance. So
Okay.
it's.
But we did get their feedback for updating the ranch plan.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's controversial, see. And I won't go into it because it's just, there's just so much, to talk about, but, it's a preserve. It's not a park. And so, what we have to do, I mean, one of the things is if we have one of the trails that's not safe, we can just close the trail. I mean, we have to make sure that everybody is safe out there. And, since we've been meeting, it's been really wonderful because I listen into the FFRP meetings and they're praising David for what he's doing on the ranch and all that, and things have been really, he's doing what he needs to do. They have no complaint at this point about how it's being preserved. Anyway, any other questions? Yes.
Facilities and resources also includes this building, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
This building, restrooms, admin office.
This building
Yes.
Yes.
just feels like a money pit. Have we looked at trying to become a historical landmark? Have we looked at maybe selling the building?
The second part, no. I don't think we would ever look at selling the building. It's one of the largest community serving centers that we have in the district, as well as it hosts all of our board meetings. We are looking at opportunities for grants, making it a historic site. That's a work in progress. But I don't think we would ever sell the building.
It just feels like it's in such need of repair. And we're probably a little upside down in terms of what we get for income versus what we are paying out. So
We're looking at our fee schedule update, which we're currently in discussions with some vendors that are gonna help us update that fee schedule.
And I'll just add, there's nothing that we're gonna charge that is going to make us not upside down.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is like a community building that I think the community and the board has said over the years that it's an asset they want to provide to the community at a rate that it won't sustain
Yeah.
the maintenance of it.
Yeah.
That's never gonna happen. We are looking at bringing in more money, but it's never going to cover the costs.
I mean, we need a vet's hall. There's no question about that. It's just,
It's not gonna be a money making or even a break even endeavor.
Does Cayucas run their community building at a deficit?
they're a historical landmark. I think they're a historical landmark.
They are.
Yes.
Okay,
And they're a county service area, so the county helped fund their remodel of their entire.
but they don't have to become a historical landmark. That's.
Well, the other thing is that, Mr. McElhaney is, he's met with, the 401(c), all the not-for-profit, and working with them about, okay, so how do we maintain this facility?
Yeah, so we are investing the floors are gonna be started in February. We have painting in March. I have a meeting on the 26th with the 501c3 groups that have been interested in putting some money towards the vets hall. But they want to see some action by us, in terms of some movement on some of these projects, because of some long standing distrust in the CCSD and how we never get anything done. And so we're gonna start moving some things forward, internally, so we'll see some changes in the floors and some of the paint. And then I'm gonna continue to work with them, because they do have some money that they would like to put towards some signature projects, they just wanna see some progress in person. Okay, next slide. So our total expenditures is about 6 million, again, 3.81 of that is personnel services, so salaries, benefits. We got about 1.5 million in services and supply. Capital outlay about $40,000. We don't have a whole lot of debt in the general fund, so that's great. There's about $18,000 of that's chief's vehicle. That guy.
It's not him, it's, we did not buy that vehicle, FYI.
That's good.
Allocated overhead, as Ms. Fritz described, so the administrative support that is provided to facilities and resources and the fire department are allocated back out. Or allocated to them to help fund that, and that's about 2 million. And we're looking at a surplus of about $270,000 this year. But we did pull out, or are going to be pulling out, about $1.1 million, which has dropped our general fund reserves significantly. So we're still running pretty lean.
For a fire truck, yes.
But that money will go back when the fire truck deal is all done.
Yeah, for a couple of years.
Years.
So we're gonna be running pretty lean a little bit, so we're gonna start putting more money back into the reserves over the next couple of years. Next slide. Again, our enterprise funds, they're legally restricted via Prop 218. Those revenues are about 10 million, water is about 4. The WRF fund, 1.3, wastewater, 4, and again, restricted under Prop 218. Next slide. Cost allocation, so this is how we charge out. So you'll see water and wastewater, of our administrative overhead, get charged 43%, wastewater is about 30, fire 20, and F&R 8. Next slide. So what does the general fund pay for? Parks, recreation, maintenance, Fiscalini Ranch, Veteran Hall, operations, our public restrooms and street lights, homeless encampment cleanups, and obviously the fire department.
Matt, will the skate park show up on that list then when it becomes operation?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it will. The thing that we have been working on is that there's a maintenance fund that we're setting up through the Cambria Community Council that's gonna help fund some of the maintenance. It shouldn't be a high maintenance site, except for that restroom. And so they are gonna be putting some money towards that.
That was my question, that I wanted to follow up on that, but that's exactly what I was gonna ask, because there is this maintenance fund. They did a presentation to us, and it should, because I, like lots of people, am concerned that this is gonna be another one of those things that becomes a CCSD project, money pit, that's not funded, but there's, and we can't know, but there is some funding for that.
Yeah, there's a small amount of funding, and there's even a kind of a clause that we can go back to them after the first 20 years. If it's not being funded correctly, like it's not enough money per year. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's another infrastructure project that's unfunded, much like the discussions of the community park at the East Ranch.
You know, historically, I remember the grammar school and the quote, need for a new grammar school. And as it turns out, most of those people who stated we didn't need it were absolutely correct, because now it's barely occupied, and we have another building sitting there that would have made a great grammar school and did for years and years. I'm wondering if the skate park is the same situation. It'll barely be used. It'll be a high liability situation. And it's going to cost all the ratepayers more money. These are the things that I keep wondering why we're doing.
That's a discussion that's been had and the board has already given direction and gone into an agreement that the skate park will happen if the money is raised. From the 501(c)(3) group and the grant that we were awarded.
Well, the 178,000 that's raised for that is just a drop in the bucket. but
Well,
it's going to end up
we did-
costing.
We did a grant for 600,000.
I know, it's the remainder, the follow-up monies, the liability, the upkeep, the rest.
Oh, yeah.
And that was conversations 2.5 years ago we
Yeah.
were having in this committee as well, and there was definitely members of this committee who voted no for the skate park, but in the end, it went before the board and there were members that are for it, and if you ever come to a board meeting that talks about the skate park, you will see how divided the
Yeah.
community is, and there's a lot of support for the skate park, so it's not a decision that is made here or, and the board has made the decision, so.
This is the problem with the state of California as well as Cambria, making decisions that's costing everyone so much that the average person can't live in California or Cambria in that.
Yeah. But to Karen's statement is, yeah, we have some projects that are being pushed at the facilities, resource, park, rec, and open space that, will create maintenance liabilities moving forward. So that's why the board set, goals on a maintenance fund for the skate park. They'll do the same for the community park, but it will be more infrastructure in this department that's really underfunded. So we'll have to have those discussions moving forward.
I have a basic question about, I know that we pay PG&E a lot of money for electricity. Have we investigated going solar? I
So,
mean, I don't even know if it could be done with streetlights, but.
so
Yeah, and the streetlights are not the expensive part of our PG&E bill,
Oh.
it's our water wells.
Yeah.
yeah, so the SST project is that energy conservation module that's gonna help bring down the PG&E. Now for solar, the ROI on solar isn't the best in our area because of the overcast and things like that. So there's been discussions, we've met with engineers out at the wastewater plant. We've talked about well fields, we've talked about this building. It's a significant investment for solar. And then the return on investment on that solar in this area in terms of how many days of sun or overcast days, we're not sure it's there. And a lot of those rebates and things that were there in the past are all gone.
Yeah, they vaporized.
Yeah.
And solar is quickly, as to go on with that, solar is quickly being replaced by other entities like Focus Sunlight on heat retaining bricks, etc. And fusion, which is on the verge of happening in the United States. Yeah. So I think that's a decision should be delayed.
So again, Parks, Rec, and Open Space costs are absorbed by the general fund. Our revenue growth has not kept pace with, the labor and insurance costs, our expanded service obligations when we talk about the skate park or community park and things of that, area. And there's really no way to solve that financial gap without impacting public safety. Next slide. So this is why I added that MSR, that is in your packet, I believe.
Yeah.
If you guys want to turn to page 127. So.
Yeah, we make too much money here. I had to look, okay, what's MSR?
I had a revenue question too, before we get into, and I meant to ask it before, but, sales tax, TOT taxes, where does that money show up?
We don't get.
We don't get any of it. County gets it all.
Because we're not city.
Because we're not incorporated.
Yeah.
I thought we still did a split on the sales tax. That's
No.
not true.
We'd love that, but no.
Or heads on beds.
So-
In fact, recently in an NCAC meeting, someone asked to see an accounting of how much sales tax is generated in Cambria. And compare that with how much money we get. And Supervisor Gibson said such an accounting does not exist.
Ooh.
So if we look at the bottom paragraph on page 127, about halfway through, I highlighted a couple areas for myself. Allocating more property taxes to one fund and decreasing the other would result in trade-offs, changes in staffing, and changes in the list of unfunded requests. That's essentially what we're talking about when we talk about shifting money back over to the district's priority, which is public safety, health and safety. And that would be through the attrition of maintenance technicians and working with the Friends of the Facility Ranch to support more funding for the maintenance of the ranch. And that very last paragraph, more specifically, it was mentioned that the CCSD has taken on added responsibilities in recent years without funding, which we have and which we've just kind of discussed. Funding for the maintenance of open space, maintenance of the vets hall, and homeless camp cleanups are three primary responsibilities of facilities and resources that continue to be underfunded and where service is provided in the best manner possible with available funding. Over time, the CCSD continues to maintain the Fiscalini Ranch and take ownership of more open space parcels, now at over 500. And if everybody's familiar, we have about 500 parcels in the district that are just open space, and we have to maintain them. We've taken on conservation easements, we have lots, things of that nature, and that all has to be weed abated and maintained. If we continue to do this with insufficient funding, the general fund budgets for fire, facilities and resources, and admin will continue to decline and impact operations and safety. So this is really, even our LAFCO is telling us that we have an issue.
Yeah, this is not our saying this. This is LAFCO saying this.
And when they did this MSR, we were seeing a 12% net decrease in our general fund reserves over the previous 5 years. So when I talked about the deficits the FNR was in historically, that $80, $90, $100,000 a year, that was being pulled out of the general fund reserves. And so even LAFCO looked at our general fund reserves and it saw the 12% decline because we keep overspending in this unfunded department.
It's 12% per year.
12% over 5 years, I believe.
All right. All right.
I highlighted that section.
So roughly 2.5% a year.
Yeah. And so it's an issue.
And when you think about, and number 57 is here, so there was a time last year, I think it was last year, where both of our fire engines weren't working and we had to borrow a fire engine. That's scary.
So that's kind of what it's on page 133. Overall, the net position for the CCSD has decreased by 12% through the corresponding 5-year audited period. So they went back and looked 5 years and our net position decreased 12% because we're basically in a deficit. The good news is through some of our philosophical changes and facilities and resources by hiring that extra maintenance technician and not contracting out, we've pretty much had a balanced budget for the last couple of years. And that's thanks to Mr. Geary, who's works really hard to do these types of things with staff. But again, with the type of community we live in and the fire threat that exists, we have to start aligning our priorities to the public safety side. We've recently created ordinances that address developed parcels. Developed parcels used to fall on CAL FIRE, and we would just hope that they would inspect developed parcels to make sure that they were properly maintaining their homes and trees and weeds and things of that nature. But it really wasn't getting done. So we took that on from our level and created a municipal code that adopt defensible space, the various different zones for fire protection. What that's done is create a heck of a lot of work for the fire chief, and he's only one person. We don't have a fire marshal, but we used to have a fire marshal. That position was eliminated and those monies moved over to facilities and resources.
As well as a a secretary, like we were talking about earlier, somebody that's at the station 24/7, or not 24/7, but 8 to 5 minutes Friday answering phones, doing all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Those
also
are
I
the
noticed
person-
several areas of Cambria are developing their own fire resistance programs, if you say. They're looking at their projecting the possibility of getting fire and how to deal with it without such for Lamert.
Yeah.
Our own system
Yeah.
to try to deal with it.
Yeah, that's a program that the chief has been,
And I think again, a lot of this is going to have to fall to voluntary support for the fire department. Whether we want it or not, it's, because people want protection and you're overwhelmed.
Yeah, agreed. And I think we've done a good job of kind of calling on the community to do that. They've done as everyone is mostly aware, we have that community liaison program that's happening. That was exactly that. That was a call to the community to kind of, arrive and say, okay, this is our community. We need to start taking care of it. No fire department in the world has the ability to handle all of the situations on their own. So it takes a great deal of community support in order to do that. Having said that, not to get into the weeds of everything, but I was astonished when I became fire chief at how underfunded the fire department really is. And there's a lot, everything we're talking about, new fire engines, those are normal operating. That's just a normal operating cost for a fire department. These aren't anything that we're asking astronomical. We're not going above and beyond anything. We're just trying to get to what the standard is, and we're struggling to get there. And this is just the beginning. Like, this isn't even, like I said, I mentioned at a board meeting, I think a year ago or so, the future is very, very expensive. And we're not talking about just wants. We're talking about needs for the fire department and needs for the community and things that we have to have in order to continue to provide adequate fire protection and community safety.
And believe me, if we didn't have such fraud and abuse in the state of California, you'd have more than enough money to take care of all the people.
Yeah, but just on what we can do as a district, well, that's what we need to look at. And there's all I can't say enough about our leadership and the changes that we've had. Yeah, and the changes that I've seen just being here. So in the short time that I have been in this capacity, it's been astronomical. And so we've been doing some incredible deep dives on how to and where to get the funding and changing in order to do that, because there's been an obvious need there. And it's going to continue. And like I said, I think the direction we're going is positive, but we've got an extremely long way to go.
well, and that's why we created the fire safety committee. Policy committee went away and fire safety committee was created.
Well, we decided in Camden to put pressure on the property owners to clean up their properties.
Yeah. Well, now we have
And that's what
now we
has
have
to
an
be done
ordinance
everywhere.
that makes them.
So we have the ordinance, and if we go backwards, again, there's this shift in property taxes over the years where it's decreased in fire and then creeped up a little bit. We used to have a fire marshal position that would assist the fire chief in making sure that the district was fire safe. And we don't have that anymore. And we can't afford it right now, so we'll start to see these little shifts in funding and see if there's a potential in the future to bring that piece back, in addition with an administrative assistant who helps. Like, if anybody's familiar with our weed abatement process in the district, it's robust and it's a lot of work to make sure these vacant lots are complying, and now we have developed parcels that need to comply. We've got a neighborhood awareness group which I think is kind of what you're talking about, that we've kind of set up in terms of different areas within the community, and you've got neighborhood liaisons, and they're going out and reaching out and talking to folks about how to have their homes defensible in terms of that the defensible space, and then go bags and things, that evacuation routes, things of that nature. But we're very similar to Paradise in Northern California. When that fire, we talked about Palisades, that was a year ago last week. And so we have to start getting a little more serious about how we're going to protect this district from a fire perspective. And it's not popular with some folks, but public safety is a priority. health and safety with water and wastewater. Those are two principal acts that we have to prioritize above all, above Parks, Rec and open space. And people say we can have both, but I'm just telling you from the way the numbers crunch, we can't have all of it, you know, so something has to give, and we're starting to see that now. And so as we move forward, we're gonna try to work with some of our 501(c)(3) partners to help offset that, so we don't see any degradation in the ranch, let's say, but we need some help there financially, and we're gonna continue to work on that. Slide.
Can I ask
Yes.
you- I know I asked this question before, but I don't remember what the answer was, but relative to the vacant lots, have we looked at somehow offloading those to like the neighboring properties to?
We have an answer for that,
We have, it's extremely difficult because
and costly.
there's specific government code laws, and if you're gonna get rid and sell a government property, it has to go through several legal steps. A lot of our lots are conserved lots, which means you can't develop them, you can't do anything with them.
Right.
And we looked into it, and honestly, the cost to try to sell and get rid of some of those lots would exceed what it would take to maintain them for several years.
Really? So if you had an auction for $1, they could have that lot next door.
If it was that easy, I'd sell all of them today.
Yeah, but okay, I
But
guess that's what I don't understand is
Yeah.
how it could be so complicated to offload worthless, essentially, but not worthless, but property of no worth.
Yeah.
The government gets involved.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, our district council will be the one to explain it, all the different steps that you have to go through, but it's rigorous and costly.
And you have looked at that.
We have, yeah. And just to do one parcel would be several $1,000s in legal fees, and we have tons of parcels.
Yeah, you put a bow on it and do one thick court cake or whatever, one action and be done.
I wish it was that easy, you know, because we brought this up at our last strategic planning meeting was, you know, how we could divest some of these parcels, and once we got into the weeds of it, it was pretty much,
No can do.
well,
That's unfortunate.
yeah.
Well, and then you look at who's gonna take those properties over.
Be the neighbor.
Yeah, and that they don't, I can tell you right now, they don't want it.
Oh, if I had a lot next to me that I could take.
I would love to
clear,
buy
I'd love it.
property.
Yeah.
Well, and there's
Just to
most of, but the main maintenance is there, and
Yeah.
that's where you're looking at, and at least the ones that I talk to. They want nothing they don't even want their property that they have now, let alone buying another
really?
property next to them, yeah, and so they,
Wow.
because of the maintenance costs that are, because they can't build on it, I mean, the weed abatement requirements are astronomical. And yeah, these are conserved, but they still require maintenance, so they can't just, it's not a left alone property, so there's, even with them being conserved, there's still maintenance that needs to be done, and so a lot of them, at least, like I said, the property owners that I've talked to, they're extremely frustrated with that, but, so
It's about half and half. There's several
Yeah.
people that would love to just secure that lot next
Retire it.
door.
Yep.
Sure that nothing ever happens over
Yeah.
there.
And then there's some who don't want the maintenance responsibilities, and there's
They
some.
can't afford it.
And there's some who'd say
Yeah.
they take the lot and then the chief would come out next year and be like, hey, you have to weed abate this whole.
So I didn't sign on for that.
How much is that? Yeah, exactly.
That's too
Okay.
bad. Okay.
So we have 12 minutes.
So again, from a district standpoint, from a management standpoint, we have to prioritize fire and emergency services, safe drinking water, reliable wastewater treatment, and protect our critical infrastructure. And historically, we've been putting, in my opinion, we've been putting some of our resources financially in the wrong places, you know, from a priority standpoint. Next slide.
You got
I
a
mean, it's a
question?
ticking time bomb. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
we're ignoring our responsibilities if we continue to look the other way on the second Heartland.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just wonder if we could get rid of the ranch to somebody like the Nature Conservancy or something like that, or one of the land trusts here in San Luis Obispo County. That'd be a move in the right direction. I mean, it was a.
So I did-
Sounds like
the
we talked
Nature
about that.
Conservancy.
I reached out to them and they want absolutely nothing to do with it. plain and simple. There's no, I mean, they really didn't because, and if you notice the Pismo Preserve, that whole area, they're in over their head with that thing. And because they signed on to take it, right now, they have the ability to tell you kind of to oversee it and say, this is what you need to do, but they're not responsible for doing it, but we are. And so they don't want to all of a sudden now they're gonna assume the cost of that. They just don't want anything to do with it.
I mean,
And it's unfortunate, because like I said, I reached out to them specifically and they just said, no, we've got too much on our hands.
on that note, though, going back to the ranch, there is some language in there that allows the easement holder, which is the Friends of the Fiscalini Ranch, to assume control of the ranch. It would still be our property, but they would basically maintain it, oversee it, and that's something that's really desirable for us as a district, you know. But those have been some tough conversations because they know, much like we know, that it's a large financial responsibility. And so they're looking to protect their endowment in perpetuity, because that's what they're charged with, is to maintain the easement in perpetuity. So we're gonna work with them on that, and hopefully at some point in the future, we can find some type of an agreement that they would slowly ease into taking care of, taking over the ranch. It would still be our property. They would still have to check in with us if they were gonna make any massive changes, but again, those are tough discussions, but it's something that we're looking at.
At this point, they're not interested in taking it over. No, and so we're looking at, okay, so could we we would do X amount of budget, would you match X amount of budget? We've talked about that, what kind of a consideration that would be. I think they're open to that. But you know, it's a really tough discussion, and we're really glad to be able to have it now, so.
Well, and the skate park's gonna be the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
So with that, you know,
Pleasant though.
Yeah.
our future considerations that we're looking at, dedicated funding for Parks, Rec, and Open Space. A lot of that would come from our 501(c)(3) partner or grants. Our cost recovery options for the Vets Hall, as Ms. Fritz noted. There's just no, because of the deferred maintenance on this Vets Hall for so many years, we'll be long gone by the time we ever find that point in which we can have a break even here on what it would cost to maintain it. We are looking at long-term general fund strategies financially with investments and things of that nature. And ultimately, we have to have some service level expectations versus what our revenue reality is, you know, and that's what hasn't happened for a lot of years, is that our just haven't been realistic on what we can do as a special district that's unincorporated with a limited revenue stream for the general fund. And anything that we do outside of fire protection towards facilities and maintenance and branch takes away from public safety. And there's no other way to slice the pie. If you take from one, you're taking from the other. And so we're trying to find mechanisms to where we can take from that unfunded area and put it back in fire protection, and then backfill it with 501(c)(3) support, things of that nature.
Yeah.
And with that, that's.
Anything from the committee? Yes.
So I just want to loop around one more time. So Mr. Gary just added staff to be able to take it and better and take and run the ranch and the other facilities. But now, if one of his guys leave, we're not gonna backfill it.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
plan.
Right.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's the reality of it.
I understand.
Yeah.
I get that.
Any other questions? Because I need to take public comment.
I have a question. I'm wondering, and this could be a two-word answer, I suppose. You just got a grant for some upgrades to this building,
Yeah.
correct? And so you were mentioning earlier that some folks in the 501(c)(3) group want to see some forward motion on the part of the CCSD, and that'll help, won't
Yeah.
it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've had discussions where we were going back and forth, and at one point they said, you know, you should look at Jimmy Panetta's office for a grant. To get some of the things done at the vets hall, and that was from the 501(c)(3) group, and I was like, we're doing that, you know, we just got a fire engine. And I had an email bouncing back and forth, because they came to me saying, hey, we have some money, and then it was go look for grants. So then I said, I'm confused. We're already doing that, so if you're not interested, that's fine. And then the conversation kept going, and it's like, they're interested, but they don't trust the CCSD. So can you get some things done? And that would show us some goodwill that we would invest in other projects.
Yeah, it's a tourism board that gave it.
Right.
So as we get the floors done in the next month or so, and we start the painting process, I'm gonna bring that group in and
And
say,
there's some real progress.
and say, hey, this is what we've done so far. Here's what we have remaining. You know, what signature projects would you guys like? Is it remodeling of the kitchen, bathrooms? You know, so we're gonna keep tackling it.
So do we have any public comment online?
No,
No,
for me.
no from you. Okay, good. Right. Well, I'm thinking that maybe we should put this slide on our next, finance committee agenda.
Which slide are you looking at?
This one that says finance committee policy discussion, because we didn't get to really talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, future agenda items, this slide.
So now, being that we're not gonna have another meeting until April-ish.
No, I think I'm gonna do one in March,
Okay.
because we need to,
Because we'll have the budget for next fiscal year coming soon too, right?
not for me, that would be the April meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, but if we didn't have the March meeting,
Yeah, so we'll see. I haven't decided
Okay.
yet.
all right.
And I don't know if you all noticed, but I didn't ask for a secretary.
Thank you.
Yes,
You've got a new member.
Yeah, didn't you tell him that requires?
I was going to,
He's
but I
going to be
didn't,
the
yeah,
secretary.
yeah. Yeah, we do need a secretary. Did you have something?
No, no.
Oh, anybody else have any future agenda items?
I would love to investigate whether or not the Vets Hall would qualify as a historical landmark. Is that something that?
Well, we had an ad hoc, and then our ad hoc
That was-
person, yeah,
That was us.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that would be something they could do.
I thought at your recommendation last week, we were gonna bring the whole process before the entire committee. Wasn't that what we agreed to do?
We were talking about the fact that we had periods where we don't have a lot to talk.
Yeah,
So we talked about taking that function up as a role of the committee, finance committee versus the ad hoc.
right. So have you looked into doing a, what did you call it, historical building?
I've been working with actually, Miriam, the office has
Yeah.
started doing some research on it, so we are looking. at it.
Okay, so let's put it on
Yeah.
as a historical. Okay, we have 2 minutes.
I mean, I don't know if that's a double-edged sword in terms of remodeling, you have to jump through more hoops versus do you get funding as a historical landmark?
Well, Cayugas definitely did. They got a bunch of funding for that.
Yeah, we would establish that first and then start looking for the funding. And
So,
then,
so will you bring that to our next meeting?
What
Whatever,
a status update.
yeah, status update.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was also curious as to whether we could get this qualified via FEMA for an emergency response facility too.
We've talked about that.
Yeah,
That's part of the problem with that is that it needs to be remodeled in order to qualify.
You do qualify.
Yeah.
Well, if we go on that path, then whatever remodeling we should do, we should ensure it satisfies whatever FEMA's gonna want. So that, and then we could take and pay for it like the fire truck a year later or whatever. Yeah.
Great idea.
all right. So it is 11:59 and I am adjourning this meeting.
Thank you.